We'll see Derek Brunson versus Darren Till next week. That'll be a very cool fight to see as well.
Now, I'm really looking forward to this one because it's been a while since Darren Till has actually... I feel like Darren Till's been a bit of a strange patch lately. Like, he was the hype train for welterweight. You know, everyone thought he was going to be the next big thing, the next big star because he was from Liverpool. He was brash. He didn't give a fuck, you know. He loved to talk shit, especially on Facebook, especially on Instagram and Twitter. And then he had that lovable beef with Mike Perry. And then...
and Michael Bisping.
And Michael Bisping as well. And then... Well, things didn't turn out as plans. He went to welterweight. Okay, then he moved up to middleweight. Understood. And I believe his first fight middleweight was against Robert Whittaker. Gastelum. And then he fought Whittaker. And then what happened was I think he injured his knee against Whittaker or something like that, or Whittaker busted his knee.
Yeah, he busted that up, and then he broke his collarbone before fighting.
That's right, Mark Vittori. So he's been in a very, very weird state right now where, you know, it's been a while since he's had a win. It's been a while since he's had like a recognisable. Now, Brunson, he is definitely one of the journeymen, I would say. Or a gatekeeper?
He's been considered the gatekeeper, but because he's a little bit closer, he's moved a little bit away from his usual gatekeeper status.
Yeah. But he's the one. I also believe that Brunson's the hype train killer.
Yeah, well, that's basically what gatekeeper means. It just means it's usually a journeyman fighter, and he, let's say like a Donald Cerrone, kind of tells you if they're really worth something, if they're not. If they're a real highly skilled fighter or if they deserve to stay outside of the top 15 or the top 10. And essentially that's what's been associated with Derek Brunson. And to be honest, there's a little bit of truth to that.
Yeah.
But to be honest, not the best matchup for Darren. He's a very good wrestler. Does like to kind of wrestle fuck you a little bit. Just kind of likes to be a wet blanket. Threw very little strikes, similar to Marvin Vittori, very little strikes when he was fighting Kevin Holland. Kind of just wet blanket time. That's what they do. Didn't really see much smashing or any striking on the ground typically. Yeah. But it's a safe way to win. You know, if someone can't get up, you know, essentially you are putting pressure on them. It's not the most exciting thing to watch, especially when you're not really advancing position and things like that. Darren is not going to like that. He's not going to like that at all. But his takedown defense has got a lot better since he comes from his Muay Thai background. Typically training in he had a bit of striking experience in the UK. But then his coach Colin said, "All right, well, you want to be serious about this? You're going to go to Brazil." Went to Brazil, learnt Portuguese, had his whole life there. Now he's got a family, and moved back to the UK. Now he trains out of what's the name? Carbon? I think it's Carbon, isn't it? I think it is in the UK in Liverpool, and he's doing really well. Like in the welterweight division, you know, he worked his way up very quickly to a title fight against Tyron Woodley. Ultimately lost, I think it was by a Darce choke. Yes. But then later, you know, he's moved to middleweight. That's a much more natural division.
Sorry, don't forget the loss to Masvidal as well.
Yes, that too.
Yep.
And then moved up to middleweight, much better division for him. Had to cut a stupid amount of weight for welterweight. And this is his more natural weight class. And a lot of people have said for Till, like he would be a cool match against Izzy. And I can understand that.
Yeah.
Do I think he's on the same level as Izzy? No. But Darren Till versus Derek Brunson's a fucking cool matchup. You know, Till's obviously got the big power difference in terms of the striking level. And then Brunson, you know, he's able to strike with you. Sometimes he'll take one to trade one. But it's really wrestling. You know, his double leg takedowns are very quick, and when he's down on the ground, you know, he's got good Brazilian jiu-jitsu as well. It's kind of up for Till in order to, you know, find those sweeps and get up and be able to reverse those positions and get back to his feet rather than try and wrestle against Brunson, because most likely, you know, you're going to be really good in terms of takedown defense, but as soon as you try and wrestle with Brunson, that's when it's game over.
Yeah.
Just get back to your feet. It's like when Conor McGregor tried to defend against Khabib, and then he tried to wrestle with him.
Yeah.
And then you're not going to beat fucking Khabib ever.
Yeah.
So a striker like Till just needs to make sure when he defends the takedown, he doesn't then try to out-wrestle Brunson, because it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Well, because also Brunson's also now on a 4-fight win streak against, so he's going to do everything he can to maintain that.
Refresh my memory again. So he beat Kevin Holland. Who else is he?
He beat Edmund Shabazian.
Right, yeah.
Ian Heinz.
Oh, Ian Heinz, yeah.
Heinz. And Elias Theodoro. I don't know, man. There's some of these names.
Elias Theodoro.
Yeah. Elias Theodoro. And then, Darren, since 2018, he's only had one win, and that was against Kelvin Gastelum, which was a split decision, which is not the best.
Yeah, I still make the point that Darren definitely unanimously defeated Kelvin.
Yeah.
But that was a long time ago. That was 2018.
Yeah.
Was it not? So,
and there's a lot that's happened up until it's now.
Yeah, a lot.
That's why.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how I see it, I don't think there's going to be a win via a knockout or submission. I still feel like this is going to be another one of those decision fights. I just do, because I don't really have an actual winner yet, but because, Brunson wins by, being a wet blanket, like you said. He's going to wrestle him. He wins by decision and being unanimous. And then Till, his last win was a unanimous decision. His last fight was a unanimous loss to Robert Whittaker. And then Kelvin Gastelum, he won via split decision. And then he lost by knockout and submission. And then decision unanimous to, what's his name? To Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. So the last time he won via either a knockout or a submission was back in 2017. So that's why. I just don't feel like it's going to be via a knockout or submission. You get what I mean?
Yeah, both have a chin on them. I mean, Brunson's been hit with a few shots, and he does get a bit wobbly. You certainly saw that in a couple of his fights. But with Till, definitely has gone through a little bit less damage and punishment, and he's got a tough chin on him. For me, Brunson is the more active fighter, and that's one thing in my mind. I think the more active the fighter is, the better that plays into in terms of timing, cardio, conditioning, and overall just like feel in the octagon. It takes them less time to actually get comfortable because they've been there pretty recently and they've done it before. But I just think that Till will be able to land a lot of shots. I think Brunson's easily hit. And I think Kevin Holland didn't have the length in order to hit Brunson, but the shots that he did throw just missed. And I think Till is a better striker than Kevin Holland, and I think he's got the length and the height in order to catch Brunson and catch him good. To be honest, I don't think he'll knock out Brunson either, but I think he'll squeeze to a decision. But I think Till's takedown defense has improved a lot, and I think Till's improved a lot, to be honest. The one thing I'm thinking of is if Brunson tries to smother Till on the ground, does Till have the tools in order to get up? I think Till's probably changed a lot since his last win back in 2018 against Kelvin Gastelum. So look, he did very well against another, very heavy wrestling style of Kelvin Gastelum. So why couldn't he beat Brunson? I think Till's a way better striker than Brunson, way better. So I'm gonna say Till by decision.
Yeah, I'm gonna say
Till by decision.
Too.